Pedro from A&P-REACTS. I'm here today with Adam from Tribulation to talk about the upcoming album, Where the Gloom Becomes Sound. January 29th is the date. How's it going?
I'm doing fine. It's going well. Thank you.
The first question I have for you is the title of the record, Where the Gloom Becomes Sound. Is that a definition of the album or is that a definition of the band?
Well, it's more a definition of the band, I would say. And it's a title that we thought about using before. We thought about naming our previous album, Down Below, Where the Gloom Becomes Sound, but for whatever reason, it just didn't seem like the perfect match. Down Below seemed better. And this time around, even though it can be described to, or can be used to describe what we've been trying to do, at least since the very first album, I think it reflects on the music of the new album as well, hopefully.
Yeah, listening to the album, I honestly felt that you guys picked the absolute best title for the record, because if you're not sure what you're going to get from the album, reading the title gives you exactly the picture of what this record is. And I felt that at some points, I didn't know if gloom became sound or the sound became the gloom.
Yeah, it could have been both ways, right?
Yeah, it feels a little bit of both ways. How do you approach the creative process of putting an album like this together?
Well, it's a bit different every time. Personally, I usually just gather material at any time, really. I have my phone at hand and I use that recording option you have. And that can really happen at any time. And I think I have like 5,000 recordings or something. And and obviously I don't listen to all of them. So but there's some of them that, you know, get stuck and that you can go back to. And that's usually what I do. I try to pick a few ideas, and that's the more intuitive part of the songwriting. And then you obviously have to put a song together, which is the less intuitive side of it. Sometimes that could be more intuitive as well, like not being able to sleep and then without even trying, you know, finding the way to continue or whatever. But that's usually the songwriting process for me, gathering material, kind of internalizing them and letting them brew, and then trying to make a song out of it. And I'm not sure how Jonathan has done it, but what both of us have been doing recently, at least, and Jonathan, of course, being the guitar player that recently quit the band, we demo songs, and not that long ago, I guess we still, you know, came to our rehearsal room and just you know, showed the song on a guitar. And I guess that can still happen, especially if you're just showing ideas. But usually nowadays it's demoing and then sending the demos and seeing what the other guys think, really, and then tweaking it to make it Tribulation-esque.
To be the final product that shows up on the record.
Yeah.
Every album, I'm sure, comes with certain challenges. Considering the pandemic and everything that's going on, what to you was the biggest challenge putting this album together?
It was a challenge that wasn't that difficult to solve, I guess. I had a writer's block. I couldn't finish songs at all. I had a lot of ideas, and I still have them, I guess, so that's good for the future. But I just couldn't make songs out of it. So I only ended up writing 3 of the songs for this album. But luckily, Jonathan had written 13 songs. so we managed to get it down to a 10-song album. But you know, sometimes it's at least for me, I have kind of like bursts of creativity, and then that's, you know, waning and waxing. So you kind of, if you're lucky, it coincides with the writing of an album, but that's not always the case. And I guess this time around, that was the most difficult part for me, at least.
Do you feel like you discover something new about yourself and about the band every time you guys get together to create a record, or you guys are an open book within yourselves, that there's not much to be learned between you guys?
But there's always something to learn, I think, especially when you do it the way we do. And this is something I've been trying to figure out how to best explain it. Because obviously, as people will know who's been following us, we don't sound the same as we did on our first albums. And even in between those albums, we changed quite a lot. And this is something that is important, I think, to the songwriting or the creative process in general. It's almost like we have some kind of raw material that we can then mold into this world, this universe we've created that is Tribulation, and those raw ingredients that have that inspiration, I guess, has kind of remained the same even since the first album. And this is really what we tried to capture in this title, Where the Gloom Becomes Sound. It is the trying to express this gloom, as we coined it here, this dark atmosphere of some sort, trying to express that in sound, and that sound obviously can't sound anyway. It has to be in this Tribulation mold, and this, which is good because it can always be updated, and I think we are always trying to remain true to ourselves at any given time. So if we were, you know, trying to make the horror #2, that would kind of be like making some kind of a cover album or some kind of a tribute album. So the music of Tribulation have always been, and I guess always will be, updated in line with who we are and what we're doing.
Basically, the music becomes the journey of Tribulation.
Yeah.
One of the things about this record that I took from it, listening to it, is for as much gloom as I think. Let me rephrase that. I think when people think of gloom, they have one very specific idea of what gloom is. But listening to this album, I felt like you guys gave us 10 shades of gloom. And I think you guys proved that you can make a gloomy album where each song sounds different from itself, and you can create gloom with brightness. You can create gloom with dark. And I felt like that's what I took from this album, that it had a very rich soundscape, very warm, very layered. And you guys gave me different shades of gloom. Is that how you would describe the output of this record?
Yeah, that's absolutely one way of describing it. It's, you know, this is the idea of making gloom from the sound. I mean, it's not something that's there in every second of every song. But if we manage, like you're saying, if we manage to make different shades of it, then that's fantastic, I think. But like you're saying, there's also in all the melancholy and darkness of the album and of our music in general, there's always some kind of a, yeah, like you said, brightness, some kind of hope in there as well. And that's something we've always had, I think, and will always have, because we're not a black and white kind of band, and we're not black and white kind of people either. There's always shades of gray, 50 shades of gray.
Yeah, yeah. I said 10 because there was 10 tracks, but yeah, that's kind of like where I was going. That's kind of where I was going with it.
Yeah.
One of the things about the construction of the album that I thought was really interesting was the addition of correct me if I'm wrong in the pronunciation, but of Leith, that instrumental piano track in the middle. It almost felt like it worked like an intermission, like you're watching a play and you watch the first part of the play, now you have the intermission, and then you get the second part of the play. Why that track? And was that the idea of putting it in the middle of the record?
Yeah, making the song order. I mean, we never have that finished until very late in the process. So we always try to create a certain flow, a certain what do you say, dramaturgical way forward. And I guess and we've done similar things in the past with these more atmospheric instrumentals, kind of like you said, like intermissions and segues into into the next bit of the album. Absolutely. So that's it wasn't our idea from the beginning. This song has to be here, but that's always kind of how it ends up.
It's how it ends up getting there. The guitar work on this album was really phenomenal, like really phenomenal, top to bottom across all the tracks. Did you have a goal in mind of how you wanted the guitars to come across on this record? Or was it more organic as you guys start to work through them?
Yeah, more like that. I mean, when thinking back to the recording, I guess me and Jamie Elton, the producer, we when I did my solos, we obviously, as you do, you find some references. But let me think. I think we were listening to Grand Megas and the solo sound on Raincows by Dissection. And then again, it didn't end up like that. That's always how it is for us. We kind of have this idea. This is what it should sound like, or this is what the album should sound like, and then it always ends up somewhere else. And which is a good thing, I think. I mean, that's we just, if something sounds better, then we go down that path, But it was more organic. We just, as usual, we like guitar solos. So, and of course we're gonna have some guitar solos, and that's pretty much it.
I like guitar solos as well, and I like the guitar solos on this record. I mean, you could close your eyes, pick a track, find a solo, and all of them add something to the song. Are you of that school of thought that if you're going to put a solo on a track, that solo has to make the song better? It has to serve the song, not just be there for the sake of me kind of just showing off and doing a guitar solo.
I am now. I remember back in the days, as you say, we always had to have a guitar solo because every song obviously has to have a guitar solo. And that was kind of the case until, I don't know, The Children of the Night, maybe. I'm not sure every song before that has a guitar solo, but that was kind of the mindset, at least. But since then, absolutely, if it adds something, then we can have a guitar solo. And sometimes I want to have a guitar solo, and it's kind of difficult to find the place for it, and then it's better to be without it, I think.
Yeah, I also feel like you guys with this record were able to nail it, because the solos made the songs better. They gave life to the song. They made the songs become richer in sound and experience. So it's definitely a growth, but a welcoming growth, because it really worked well on this record.
Thank you so much.
I have one more question for you, and that is, I think everybody will agree with me when I say that Tribulation is very specific. Tribulation is Tribulation. When you hear a song, you know you're listening to Tribulation. With this record, you got to listen to Tribulation through 10 tracks. What makes Tribulation in your mind special, and what it makes it Tribulation?
It's always, like I said earlier, it's kind of too intuitive, or recently I've started thinking about the idea of like an inner compass for the band, and I don't even know what that is, and I don't really know the ingredients that are needed for it, but I'm glad to hear that it's working. But I can't explain, yeah, but better than how I have. It's and I'm glad to hear that is the case. I've been listening to our old drummer Jacob. He's got a band called Second Son, and the same can be said about that band. You can hear that it's him writing, that he's written the song like in seconds, which I'm really impressed with. So I'm glad to hear that we seem to be doing somewhat the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. And definitely with this record, I thought this was a phenomenal album from you guys, top to bottom. And I think the key for this record, it's really the ability to show that you could have, like I said before, a gloomy record, or push sound through gloom, or sound becomes gloom, whatever the way you want to go about it. But you guys were able to create that across 10 tracks and sound differently, and show it to the fans on a different platter, if you will. And that to me is the key factor for how good this album is.
That's always difficult when you are writing the songs, and it always ends up working. I always think about different keys. You don't want every song in E, and then I think now I failed again. Every song is in E, and then I realized that no, that's not the case at all. It's really varied, and it just somehow ends up that way. Maybe someday things won't go that well, and everything will sound the same.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not. Well, Adam, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate talking to you about this record. Where the Gloom Becomes Sound is out January 29th. Go pick it up. Great record from you guys. Congratulations and all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Take
for
care.
having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.